Hello everyone, it's Brew Time Podcast, and today we're joined by the one and only Ben Leech. Ben's got a story for us to tell about his time at the jury. It is a jury, isn't it? That's what you call it.
Yeah, so Ben's been called up for the first time for jury service. You're going to tell us all about it, start to finish. But first, we have a question that we want to ask all the guests. Take time to think about it if you need. So imagine a magical room that we have. It's Brew Time Podcast, Hall of Fame. I want you to submit an item, place, or person, something like that that's significant to you. What item would you like to submit?
So the most significant item in my life is this crepe that I ate.
That sounds so strange.
I'll tell you what, right? So there's a story, right? I was on holiday, a place called Santorini in Greece, which is this nice little island, and they call it the best sunset in the world as well when you're on the front. But you got the best sunset in the world, but the real magic is it's a couple of streets behind that. So you walk, just come out of the sun. You're walking into where the markets are, and there's this little street. We missed it 3 times because we was looking for it on Google. So we eventually got to this shop, and I'm walking past it. First off, we walked past it. So we walked past the street, then we walked past the shop. It sounds pretty insignificant, this shop, but so I walked past it at first, and first off, it's playing this tune that I've only ever heard in my earphones at the gym. So when I heard this shop playing this tune,
Is it I'm a Barbie Girl?
in a Barbie world, yeah, that's the one. It's called Guy Gerber, What to Do. Other songs are available. So yeah, first off, I tripped out. I was like, am I in the gym listening to this song in my headphones? I was like, what the hell? And then I walked in, and this was the place I was meant to go to. And there's this woman making these crepes, and she's not even looking. She's looking over there, and she's chopping bananas up like that, and she's doing Willy Wonka style with these crepes. And my order was Nutella, banana, Ferrero Rocher, and whipped cream. And let me tell you now, I am submitting this crepe into the Brew Time Podcast Hall of Fame. And by the way, I want to say, make homage. I know it's in your name, lads, but this brew is
Thank you.
something special.
Thank you very much.
You got to do the basics, man. You got to do the basics, well. So yeah, I'm putting a crepe. See, my most significant item is a crepe into this room. There you go. It's called Creme de la Crepe, by the way. This place.
That's a good name, actually.
Yeah, it is the Creme de la Crepe.
I'm sure they'll thank you for the shout out.
I'm sure they will.
Sponsorship incoming.
Well, they know my favourite. I'm there every day.
Right, so that was a nice upbeat topic, I guess, to start with.
Yeah.
Going into a bit more of a serious topic, I guess. We'll put a warning at the start of the video for people that don't want to hear this type of thing, I guess, or might be triggered by it.
Yeah.
So you got called up for jury service.
I did.
Tell us how it started from the beginning.
It started when I walked into my house and I saw a letter on the floor that had my name on it. Normally I avoid opening all letters at all costs, but this one seemed pretty important. So I opened it up and it said, "You have been summoned." On the
Is that what it actually said?
Yeah, it said "You have been summoned."
That's dramatic, that.
Yeah, it feels like my shoulders dropped. I was like, the smile went on my face. I grew a beard. So it just basically, and it gave me all the details, the forms, where I have to be at what date. So then I was like speaking to, and I wasn't sure who I could tell, so I just kept it like to myself. But I didn't keep it to myself. I was asking like my family, "Oh, have you done it? Have you heard anyone that's done it?" And the majority of people said to me, "Oh, I didn't even get picked. I didn't get picked for a case. It was boring. I was sat around." So I was like, I'm not really sure what to expect. And then the time rolled around. It was a couple of months after, and well, the funny thing is, I changed jobs. And you get paid a certain amount for jury service. And I changed jobs a week before, and it meant I got paid 3 times the amount for being on jury service. Yeah.
Why is that?
Because within the details, to give you the government give you a certain amount. It's like £8 an hour for your time. But because I worked part time, I was doing the same job as I was at university. It's a bit of a tangent here. So I only work 3 days a week. So I went from getting paid 3 days a week on their rate to getting paid. The job that I went to just paid me normal rate for 5 days. So it ended up being like 3 times more. So I walked in knowing I'm going to get paid 3 times more. Yeah, this is all right. So then we walk into the court. It's all dead serious. Like it's like being in an airport, like, you know, through security and stuff.
Sorry to stop you there. So, for example, me being like self-employed, does that mean I'll be going in at a flat rate of that, and that's it?
Yeah. So there was people on my jury who were self-employed, and people who were not in a similar line of work to me, who were getting paid less. So it's obviously, and if you work part-time, then it's not that great. But to be fair, it's worth it for the experience, even if it is. I mean, I'm going to go into the experience, but even if it is like a docking pay, I would definitely recommend doing it. Well, I mean, you get fined if you don't do it. So even if you don't want to do it, you've been summoned, haven't you? So so you're walking in. It's like being in the airport. They're obviously checking you got no weapons on you or anything like that. You know, going into a court and that, pretty serious stuff.
What court was it at? Sorry,
Preston Crown Court. Yeah. But the Crown Court is the most. I didn't know this until after. Crown Court is the most serious offences. I think it's only the national one that's above it. It's like however many levels of court. Some is like if someone nicks your car or something and you don't know what to do. I think that's magistrates. I might be wrong. But Crown Court it can only be treason, murder, rape, kidnapping. So it's one of the only. I didn't know this. When I went in. I thought, it's going to be someone's sort of car dispute or something. Like it'll be fine.
Judge Judy.
Yeah. Well, I'll get on about her actually. I got a few reminders about her, and so security on first day. I thank the Lord I didn't have a weapon on me, you know. So I went in. And then you sit down and it's like you're in this hospital room and it's, you know, when you're waiting for the doctor and it's like it's all dead serious and no one's speaking, no one knows each other. It's like, and you go up this lift and you're into this room and then you have to fill these forms out, which are like disclosure forms and everything, you know, sign your life away, all that kind of stuff. And then it's really, as soon as you get in there, it's a numbers game. You're kind of waiting for, I don't know what to compare it to, but it's like you like a lottery, I guess. Yeah. It's like there's a couple of hundred people in this room. Is your name going to get called out? And what they do is they call. So there's 12 people in a jury.
I thought like if you got summoned, then you were that was guaranteed.
No, it's not a guarantee. It's all a numbers game throughout. It's a numbers game getting summoned, and then it's a numbers game getting your name called out. And hopefully bring that. So I got actually quite well. There was a group of people who got called out before me, but that was like a really serious one. They had to sign something else, and then, but I'm not sure if that one actually went ahead. I'm not sure. But the first case that went into action, I was reading a book with one earphone in, listening to a podcast, like just zoned out. It's like
listening to a podcast and reading a book at the same time.
Yeah. I just need. That's what I do. Honestly, I just like to keep my brain like stimulated. I know I'm on the spectrum a little bit. I'll be honest. I think I've got some kind of ADHD.
Sounds Chris.
I just need you'll know. You know what I mean. You should try it out. That, by the way, podcast and a book at the same time. It's the left hand and right hand side of your brain that, you know, keeps them both going. But yeah, so I was literally slumped down in the chair halfway through a brew, podcast, book out. I was thinking, everyone that I've spoken to about this has said, yeah, I was waiting for days and get picked. So I was like, there's no chance. So the first group that gets taken onto a case, I think one of the last names that gets read out, Benjamin Leech. I jumping up, headphones, like, I'm trying to get him in my AirPod pocket, close my book. I was the last one there. Like, sorry, like, I'm all ruffled up and stuff. Like, my bag's over one shoulder like that. I need the toilet as well. So I'm like, I'll just be a set. I need the toilet. So everyone's waiting for him. Making Judge wait, all families wait. And then, and then you get taken into this room. And so, well, first off, this is what I was going to say. So there's 16 of you to get called out. There's only they only need 12 of you. There's 16 of you get called out, so it's another numbers game. And then there's 16 of you that go, and you line up outside the court, and there was this guy in front of me. I couldn't watch this. I'm sure you're a nice guy, but he was just unsure. My heart was beating right. I was like, oh, man, this is so serious. This. Yeah. I'm going into a court and everything. And he's trying to make jokes, like making fun of us. Just seriously, sure, I can't go back. We don't get on this case, that kind of thing. And so then we're walking into the court, and it's proper serious. And like I was saying when I was going in, it's like walking into an exam. Honestly, the whole thing is like an exam, and my heart was beating. It's like my mouth was getting dry. I was like, I need a drink. I'm gonna pass out. I don't know what's gonna happen. And then and they give you like they ask, they say, are you religious or whatever? Yeah, I guess so, yeah. And then they give you a Bible with a script on it, and you have to say, like, I solemnly swear in the name of Almighty God, what is it? That I will adhere to the truth, the whole truth. It's that kind of, you've heard it before in a film, something like that, and you have to say that with your hand on the Bible. So they give you that pack first when you walk in with. It's like, this is serious, this, so, I'm having to get him involved. Yeah. I know. The big man up top, having to get him involved as well. Walking in, and like I said, I was nervous as anything. There's the attorneys, the defendant or defendants, families as well that are in there, and the judge is on like this high pedestal, just looking down at everyone. And then it's another numbers game. So like I said, there was 16 names that obviously come in. They just whisk them around and they pick out 12. And so juror 1, juror 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11. So it gets to the last one. I'm thinking, this is great. This is just typical, isn't it? I'm going to be sat around waiting for 3 days. I'm going to hate my life for the next week, just doing nothing. And at last, juror 12, Ben Leech. I sit down, I'm like smiling like that, and then the smile got completely wiped off my face because, think about like I've said, the things that go on in Crown Court, which I didn't know at the time, but you think about the kind of cases that you wouldn't want to deal with. The first thing that gets said, or things that get read out are the counts, the indictments, which is if you.
So is this still all in that same day?
This is all in the same 10 minutes.
Oh, really?
10 minute span, yeah. Well, not 10 minutes from when I went in. 10 minutes from when I got the Bible. And whatever. So
they read out the indictments.
Yeah. So they read. So what I was saying was, if you was to hit me and then rob me, you'd be done for 2 indictments. One would be the assault and one would be the theft. So
is that the same as getting charged or something?
Yeah. So these are the different charges. The charges and indictments are the same thing. Okay. Just like that's the proper name for the indictment. So the charges, let's call this guy Derek. So Derek has done 6 things here, and we're going to read them out. And the first one that gets said is sexual activity with a child. Like, you are joking. So I've just gone from like, I'll just speak about it from my perspective, because all I can do is speak about it from my perspective at the moment. There's just like so many nerves going into it, and then you hear that and your heart just sinks. And it's hard because you can't make up your mind then. But when you hear the charges, it's like that's one of the things we hear. It's like, wow, like that's that's serious. That, but then you've got to go into it all level-headed, and that's what we was all saying as well.
What were the other indictments?
So it was 3 that was sexual activity with a child, 2 inciting, and 1 of them was supplying drugs to a child, supplying class A drugs to a child.
Yeah. So with this, we can't go into the specifics of the actual case and names and stuff like that.
Can we go into the specifics of the case, but just not say the names? Because did you say that it's already there's had a verdict?
Yeah, you can do. Yeah,
can do.
Yeah, can do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, a warning. Yeah. So, tell us about the actual plot of the case itself.
Yeah. So it wasn't. So on that day, it was. We just heard about. So there's 2 girls. Let's call them Amy and Erica. So it's Amy and Erica. We're hearing their side of the story against Derek. So from Amy and Erica's side, this Derek called them over on a street to the other side of the road. He gave something happened where he gave but I'm just giving you the information as it was given out to me. Something happened where we're not sure if.
Oh, sorry. What's that? So, how's the situation of them? What environment are you in at this time when they're explaining this to you?
So the indictments. So I'll do it chronologically. The indictments get read out, and
you're in just a room with you 12.
No, yeah. So sorry. So there's us 12. We're in the room now with the judge. So there's the judge, the 2 attorneys. One of them is defending Derek. The other one is defending the state and the 2 girls, Amy and Erica. There's also family members that can come in that room as well who are looking at us, which isn't great. And we are also in that room, but we're just to the side. So It's all going on. It's like if someone was to be sat here watching us.
Right.
That's our job. We're just there to watch and see how things move. So now we're hearing it from the 2 girls' side first and what happened. So I think this was on the same. It was either on the same day or the day after. I think we heard the indictments, which we heard the indictments, went for dinner. Yeah, we heard the indictments, went for dinner, and then came back. And then this is when we started hearing about the whole story.
Right. So who explains the story?
Right. So what there is there are 2. So something called an ABE interview. I can't remember what ABE stands for, which isn't great. But so it's basically an interview. So let's take the example of you beating me up and robbing me. Right? Yeah. I would tell the police, and then 2 days later, I would go in for an interview. That interview would be filmed, and it's at the time or just after. So then what would happen is, if this was to go to court, I would have to cross-reference against that video.
Yeah.
To prove, see if there's any inconsistencies in my stories, things that I might have remembered. Just basically, can this person be tripped up? Are they telling the truth?
Yeah.
Does it all look natural like that? So we're watching the case of Amy. And Amy was, so the 2 girls were drunk. They were kids, but they were drunk. And
we'll not do ages and
yeah. So 2 kids, they were drunk and they went out, and so the story of Amy is she was drunk and she was the one who didn't take the drugs. So she was blacked out, essentially. She didn't remember anything. So her case was a little bit wishy-washy. But basically the crux of the story was, it was her friend who told her everything that happened, kind of, and she connected the dots. You know, like if you go on a night out and you've had a bit to drink, and someone will say, "Do you remember when that happened?"
Yeah, it clicks something in your brain.
Yeah. So her friend, the one who remembered, who had taken the drugs, she was telling her friend and connecting the dots. So Erica was connecting the dots for Amy. Now we heard Amy's story first, and it was that Derek had called them over from the other side of the street, asked for directions to this place, and then along the way, he had taken some cocaine and then offered it to the girls. And then, so this is from Amy's side of the story, and then she didn't take it, her friend did. And then from then, they went to this reservoir, and that's when the inciting sexual activity happened, which was essentially the inciting is just asking, basically saying, "Do you want a threesome?" That's what it was. That's what was said, and then that's when it happened at the reservoir, the incident. So that was from Amy's side of the story, but like I say, Amy was a bit. She saw it through her friend's lens, and because we was given the information that, so this was on this day, and we was given the information, so we was given information that her friend had taken the cocaine, so we was kind of thinking that obviously effects of cocaine, it's a stimulant, it sobers you up, and it works against drink really, and it like you can remember things. So that was on the first day. We heard the interview with her at the time. Then we heard the cross-reference, and it was just essentially, and you know, the attorneys are little shits. Like, they try and trip you up on everything, and it's like it's my first time obviously seeing it, but it's like, so she's saying to the girls, saying, "Did it really happen? Are you sure it happened? Like, let's assume it didn't happen. You might be making it up. I don't think that." And you know, just trying to trip her up on every little occasion. I know. I can always speak how I felt, but it's quite annoying. It's like, just let her just let the story naturally think about it. I get why they do it. They're doing the job.
So do the attorneys like keep interrupting them while they're on the stand being interviewed?
No, because they were kids. He wasn't on the stand. He was on a video.
Right.
He was on a video.
Right.
But same kind of thing. Yeah. They keep just asking them questions, trying to trip them up, I guess.
Yeah.
In case there's inconsistencies, and because they have to swear as well. They have to say what's it called? We have to tell the truth.
No, we know what you mean. Like,
repeat. Yeah. In case, so if they say something wrong on that, I'm guessing it's against the law, and the trial becomes void. So I think they're trying to trip them up for that reason.
It's hard that though, isn't it? Because being young is easily tripped up.
Yeah, and it was, so one of the things was, this incident happened 2.5 years before it came to court. So obviously the chances of you forgetting little details and...
Do they put that into consideration, the jury? How can it be exactly like it's going to be in the video? When it's
as a member of the jury, you have to take so much into account, so much input that you have to, like that. There's a certain level of common sense as well. But I'll get onto this more later on. But there's so much input. Like I will speak about that later on. But I'll just speak about the story for now. So then, I said to the other jurors, just watch out for a mate, because a mate did cocaine. Everyone looked at me a bit funny. Other drugs are available. So obviously, but that's a good thing about a jury. People have different experiences in the past and stuff, and I'll mention that. I'll speak about that later on. But just on about the story. So when her friend spoke, it was...
This is Erica now.
This is Erica. Yeah, this is Erica. So when Erica spoke, that was hard. That was like, you know, I said to you about how sometimes a couple of years can go by and you forget things. I think when you go through something traumatic, it becomes so vivid.
Yeah.
And you don't forget. When you've been through something traumatic, you do not forget anything. You don't forget the days around it, anything like that. And when she was speaking, it was like she was getting something out of her that had been in there for years, and it was quite powerful, actually. it was like, have you seen Oppenheimer?
No, I haven't yet. No.
Have you seen Oppenheimer? Oh, there's this scene. Other films are available, but there's this scene where Oppenheimer's wife essentially is getting grilled on trial, and she's shaking and just takes a deep breath in, and she just goes at the attorney and just completely just kills him, not literally, but just like gives him nothing and just stands her ground. And it was like that. It was quite powerful actually. On that day, I think I remember that night was quite difficult because it was obviously at the same time, like, I'm not saying but you can't tell anyone. I did not tell anyone because of the nature of the trial. Just if I tell someone might have been in a similar incident and they might skew my opinion on it. So you can't, for the people involved in the case, as hard as it is, the best way is to just not tell anyone.
And for you, your involvement is that a week period? It's all done in a week for you.
So it was done. Yeah, it was done. All the evidence was over a week, and then after that we deliberate. So I'll get onto that again. But just on about the story. She just gave a vivid description. She looked like she was just outweighing trauma. She dealt with the attorney, and it was pretty like substantial. And then, so we haven't heard from. Then we heard from the girls' families, but that was all kind of he said, she said, all that. I think there might have been some guilt in there as well. So it was quite. Well, you have to look at which evidence is relevant, and I think being in that situation, the most relevant evidence was Amy and Erica's, namely Erica's. That's what I felt like. So then after all this, then we hear Derek's side of the story. So Derek firstly said, I don't know who Amy and Eric are. I don't know what this reservoir is. I might have been there once, whatever.
So
and then
he claimed to never have seen Amy.
He claimed to never have seen them, but in the middle of the case, there was a video that we got shown as a piece of evidence, and it was basically a Snapchat video of him taking cocaine, and it was from Erica's phone.
Mate.
So he said it under, he did a, not an AB
under oath.
It was when police take you in.
Right.
Under custody.
Yeah.
And it's like, they say, if you say anything.
It's
again.
Right.
Yeah. So it was
on Miranda rights.
Yeah, Miranda rights.
Yeah. So, you know more than me about it.
I watch Suits, mate.
Yeah, well, I have not, by the way. I have not. So in that interview, just basically he was just shutting himself off. And then when he came to cross-reference his interview, it was just, it wasn't really much, really.
Yeah.
It wasn't really much. But the thing is, at the same time, like, so we've all been shown the evidence now, so that's the point of the story. And there are like more things I can go into detail about it if you'd like, but just like on about the inputs part. One of the main things I was looking at was like body language. How did someone speak about something that was such a delicate topic, and like the way that Amy and Erica were was like open, and then when they'd speak about it, it just closed up, and it was so evident with the body language. It was so evident with like the things that they'd said. So that my opinion was, it was just completely evident, and someone has to take the opportunity to if so I'm accusing you, I'm going back to it again, I'm accusing you of robbing me and beating me up, right? If you didn't do that, you would just you would use that opportunity to show people that you didn't.
Yeah.
Would you not?
Yeah.
And I just felt like every opportunity that had been given to Derek was just he just demonstrated just lying and just I think his body language as well. It was quite clear to me the verdict.
This Erica's side of it. So obviously we've heard of Amy's story of it. How he asked them for directions. He sniffed cocaine along that point, and then asked them about it. They went to a reservoir where he incited to ask for a threesome, and then after that point is when he apparently did what he was accused of doing. Was Erica's the same story as Amy's, or did hers differ? Because obviously she was the sober one in this point of view.
Yeah.
So what was hers?
So, well, she was more sober than a friend. So what it came down to was, I thought that I can't speak about what we discussed in the room, but just what I thought looking at the evidence was that it was Erica against Derek, because what Amy said was, I'm almost sure that Erica would have connected the dots for Amy.
Mm-hmm.
So really, it's looking through the lens of Erica. So everything's through the lens of Erica against the lens of Derek.
So Amy's only opinion is what Erica's told her.
I'm not saying it was irrelevant. It's just the state she was in.
Yeah.
So it's dismissible.
Yeah.
It's not dismissible because it happened. It's just more like the way Erica spoke and just outlaying the trauma. It just everything flowed as it would have happened. Like there was no stopping to think. Can you repeat the question? None of that. It was like we're off. Like we are off now, like that. And it was. Her side of the story was, so to answer your question, the reason why I brought that up is there was essentially the same story, but it was seen through Erica's lens, and but yeah, honestly, the things that she described. Another thing that was another input was the detail that was given, the detail about Derek, the detail about the situation. We also had maps. We had Google Maps, detail about the route that they took. This is one point as well, actually, that didn't make sense for Derek. So Derek said he went on a different route, and he said that he turned away from home, and that was where he met these girls, to go back home. So then, from his point of view, he turned away to go home, and then he did cocaine. Now, you are not going to do cocaine and then go to bed.
Yeah.
You're not going to do that. You're not going to you're not going to do cocaine and go straight to bed. That was another thing as well. And so yeah, it was kind of, like I say, it was Erica's story really against Derek's.
Am I allowed to ask? So obviously, the indictment was for, is it sexual abuse?
Sexual activity with a child.
Activity. Can I ask what that actual activity was? Is that classed as rape, or
it was?
Is that forcing the girls to do something?
I think we'll not talk about what he actually did. It might be too close to the case.
Well, if the verdict's already been done.
Yeah, but still, I don't think you can.
Why? If it's already done now, isn't it? So there's nothing that we say can input on that.
Yeah, I know.
And we're not using details. We're not using names.
Yeah, possibly. So it's up to you.
We'll leave it as your call.
Yeah.
Because obviously we know to the point of that he's obviously asked for the threesome, but after that, is it all just? It's just him asking to do stuff, I suppose.
Yeah. No, it wasn't him asking. He asked and then crossed. So one of them was not. Amy was not sober at all. She lost all motor function basically.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, by account of both her age and her state, there was no consent. Really.
Yeah.
So that's so it was mainly with Amy when she was in that state, but there was some with Erica, and again because of the situation she was in, she wasn't fully sober. She was more sober than her friend, but because of the situation she was in, both the situation she was in and her age, there's not consent. So even if something was to happen, no consent, and that's why. So I'll speak about inputs again. You've got all these different things that you've got to consider. You've got kind of the language that's being used, the body language. You've got to think how the amount of time that's passed as well, and how time that's passed would affect someone who has been through something traumatic versus someone who hasn't. So there's some people that it's going to be more vivid, and then you've also got to factor in. I can't actually remember my point. There was a point behind it. I can't remember it.
So what I had two questions that I wanted to ask.
Yeah, go on.
The first one would be, so when they're doing the jury, you've
Yeah.
got 12 people with all different views from all aspects of life. Does it not matter that, say, because it's like a rape of a child, say if you had a mother there who has two children in the similar age group to the ones in the case, that'd really sway her view of the case and make her, say, biased against him? Do they just let her carry on and be in the jury still, or does she then have to be swapped out because she's has too much of a connection to it? You know what I mean?
Good question. Very good question, because that is something that I thought at the time. There was people who on the jury had been involved in something similar on both sides.
Right. Yeah.
Of it, on both sides of it. And that came out. So for me, when I heard the charges at first, I've got a sister who's a similar age. So things like that could skew it. There was mothers with people with similar ages. You speak about these things in the room, but you can't go into it. Like I said, I've got a sister who's a similar age. You just can't. It just has to go out of your head. You have to take all biases aside. The only thing that is my point with the input, I remembered it. The war. The only thing you can only your guidelines are the war.
Yeah.
So even if you think someone did something, they might have done it maliciously. They might have done it without meaning to. Like, let's go back to your point again. You might have hit me without meaning to. I don't know how bloody hell you would do that, but you might have hit me without meaning to. It doesn't matter. You still did it, and that's another input. Just remember my point. Sorry. So yeah, the only thing that you can go about really is the war. And people have, like you said, people have biases, and I'm not sure whether it affected people in the room.
Yeah.
I think it would do naturally.
Yeah.
But like we was deliberating for a long time, and it was because of things like that. You have to make sure that you're doing it right, because and what it did was, because people had been involved in the situation, was right. The mood in the room wasn't shit. What's he gonna do? It was not. We need to get this right.
Right.
That was the mood in the room, and it was good because there was people with different experiences. As I mentioned in the past before, I knew what effect that would have on Erica, so I could bring that into the room. There was someone who, someone involved was a foster parent, and we didn't know whether there was something that was linked to it, the case. And this guy stood up and said, "Yeah, I'm a foster parent," and that's true. She was telling the truth. And I was like, "All right, well, yeah." And there was people different ages that spotted different things, and that's why it's so good. And I think the jury system service really is like, it's great because it's the best way to do it. Just putting 12 random people in together. The only way that we wouldn't have been able to go about it is if I knew someone involved in the case.
Yeah, right.
If I knew Derek, I would have to stand up and say, "Sorry, I know Derek."
Right.
So I can't.
Do you know when you said that this is a room full of people before your name's getting called, and then that 12 people or 16 get called, and out of the 16, the 12 get decided. Is that process just a a pick of a random number, or is that are people's backgrounds checked specifically for that case? Is that how they're getting chosen?
I don't know the answer to that question, but because I've used the phrase a numbers game quite a few times, my guess would be the whole thing is random.
Yeah.
Because
I suppose it has to
because
be.
if it wasn't random, then people wouldn't be, like I said, if I was to go into the room and I knew Derek, that situation wouldn't happen. If it was selected carefully, that situation couldn't happen. Where I knew Derek, because they might have done a background check.
Yeah.
They might have asked them questions. So my guess would be it's completely random. The whole thing did feel random.
Okay.
It just felt all random, really.
What do you feel like could have, in your experience, in the whole thing that you've done, do you feel like there were flaws in the whole process of it? In the process of the jury, the way that you all came to decision, the way you had that you all talked to each other about what your thoughts were in the case, whether it was actually what your thoughts could be changed in the court, or how the lawyers get involved, should they not be able to say anything in between? Like, what do you think were the flaws of the whole case?
I would say that there is, because it's just like, it's not, you know when you go into school and your lessons are planned, and it's like you've got the PowerPoint and you've got all your sheets printed out and everything like that. There's none of that. So it's essentially, if you get 12 Karens in a room, they might deal with it different than 12 actors from Suits or something. They'll deal with it differently, and some people will have like a table that they'll do it. They might get some equations going or something like that, and other people might throw a dart at the board and see where it lands. So there's no like set way to do it. It's obviously just using common sense and putting it together. Like that's what we did. So there could be flaws in that way. There could be, like I said, there could be flaws in personality types as well. You might just get more than half of the room is akin to, might be a 50-year-old white male, and the case involves the 50-year-old white male who's racist, and the case involves someone who they are racist to, and it's just, because it's random, there would be, it wouldn't have to happen often, but there would be cases where it could be disadvantaged. And basically, my point is on that, once you get in the room, there's no structure, really. You make your own structure. And I'm not sure whether that is a flaw. I quite like it, but it could be a flaw. It has the potential to be a flaw. There's just one more thing as well, which is the way the attorneys worked, but I guess that's just because of the nature of the trial, and they were just like trying to trip them
Pretty
up.
ruthless, isn't it?
Fucking like, oh yeah, you're looking at the clock. You see it, like.
I wonder if the person who's like defending has ever thought, I want this cunt to get caught.
Yeah, no, yeah. I was thinking that, but like with the defence attorney, I think people look at, because there's other people in the room as well. There's like court workers and stuff, and that make notes and stuff like that. Everyone's kind of looking at them like, what are you doing? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think
position to be in that.
Yeah, a bit like, it is. It is a difficult job. It is that's one thing I noticed. Being an attorney is a serious job. Yeah.
Because if you're good at it, that's why you earn the money.
It's a very difficult job. That even just to be able to speak. You might have to speak for 2 hours in front of so many people, and someone might say something that you wasn't expecting, so you have to adapt on the spot. And you might have had 10 questions lined up, and if someone would have said yes to a question, was you there? So, Derek, do you believe? Was you there? Can you remember speaking to that person? They've got 10 questions lined up for you to say yes, 10 questions lined up for you to say no, and go, oh. And then it's like, no, just rip that page up and there you go. Yeah, so a lot of it's adapting and
be like that.
I wanted to ask. So there's 12 of you deliberating.
Yeah.
Or do they just leave you 12 in a room? Is there someone supervising you?
So there is someone outside the door making sure we don't escape.
Really?
Locking the room. Yeah.
No way. Is it?
Yeah. There's someone outside the door, and if you want to like, so there's the room, and then there's like the toilets, and then there's a door outside of that. So they're not holding you ransom to go for a slash, you know what I mean? So, but yeah, if you need to give information to the judge, you knock on the door, and you have to write a question on the sheet, and then you give it to them, and then they'll give it to the judge. The judge was good.
Was it?
Yeah.
Or what made her so
She
good?
just like put everyone in a place. It's like, this is my fucking garden, right? You don't chop down that tree. Like, sort it out. Like, you have to do everything in the right way.
Yeah.
You have to. It's like, she only cares about the truth. You have to get to the truth in the right way. If someone asks a question, one of the attorneys asked a question. It wasn't just the defense attorney that she shot up. It was the attorney on the side of the court as well. She was like, it's not relevant. Why are you asking that?
So she's like playing the devil's advocate, really, in the middle.
In the middle is the best way of putting it. The attorney, in the middle. She's just in the middle of everything. And when it was the briefing us on like the war and stuff, we got this like, it's like 10-page document or something, and it wasn't a random document. It was like manufactured to go with this case. It was quite everything that was in there mattered.
Yeah.
So it's quite heavy stuff. She read it out, and it took her about an hour. It's like, and it was serious stuff, and it was like, if you think this, then it means this, and you can't think this, and just giving us briefs on the law. But you have to, at the end of the day, like you have to like meet at the wall. Like, everything comes down to the law. You can't. You can use common sense. You can look at body language and stuff like that, but if it doesn't lead to anything in the law, then it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So the same like with input. The main input by far is the law, definitely. And you don't realise it. You think, you walk in and you think, I'm just going to be a walking part. I'm going to spot this. I'm going to spot that. It's pattern recognition and all that. Is he lying? Yeah, he's lying. I can feel lying. But it's nothing like, you know nothing. That's what you realise when you go in, you know nothing. And because you might spot them things, but at the end of the day, it's in the wind. It doesn't matter.
When you come to the end of that, you have to make a verdict at the end, don't you?
Yeah.
And what can we know the verdict collectively?
Oh, sorry. Actually, you might not know this, but all 12 jurors have to agree on the same verdict for it to be finalised.
Unless, so there was, the dispute went on for a while, like I said, a long time, and it was, some people wasn't, the thing is, right, the nature of the deliberating can sometimes be a bit, you push people into a corner, and that's another flaw with it, actually, is, so there's 12 of us lads sat on a corner, 12 lads, girls, whatever, sat on a table, and there's 2 people that don't agree with what 10 people are saying. So the nature of that conversation is going to be the eyes looking at them 2 people, trying to understand why they disagree with you. Now, this is a flaw because it can come across as people thinking, they're bullying me, this, that, what's going on. I understand it because I disagreed with something. It's like, bloody hell, everyone was on me. It was, but you have to, because that one person that disagrees might know something, or spotted something that you haven't seen. So it's important. You need to know. So it's that is another flaw as well. It can seem like if a couple of people don't agree, it can feel like you're pushing them into a corner, and everyone feels it in the room. But really, it's called the deliberation room. You have to explain why. You can't just sit there and say, I'm not changing my mind. You have to, and that's why people come to an agreement.
Yeah.
Because the nature of the deliberating room is that you deliberate and you weave together all your thoughts, and at the end of the day, because you're all in a room and everyone uses the common sense of things that they've spotted and the law, which is the most important thing. That's why people come to an agreement. But with ours, there was 2 of the indictments which wasn't unanimous.
Right.
So that went to 2 of them went to a majority.
Right. So is that the other outcome that could happen?
Yeah, majority, but then it is still guilty or not guilty, even if it's a majority. But that has to be a majority of 10-2.
And I take it that he was guilty, was he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the jury found him guilty.
The jury,
yeah. So
so you tell the judge that, and then does the judge make the final decision?
Right.
Or
So
are you just the one who speaks it?
Let me tell you now, right? When it wasn't me that stood up and said it, but when it's like, right, so jurors, you've come to a decision. On count 1, do you find him guilty or not guilty? Guilty. It was like every time he said, stood up and like in front of the judge said guilty. It was like someone. It was like in the room. He was looking at everyone's reactions as well. It's like telling someone bad news 6 times in a row. It's like
you're being worried.
It's not funny at all. Like, but the concept of that is like just being in that room and it's like 6 bombs going off, and it's like the moment you hear where the stand up and say guilty, it's real. It's real.
So is he been sent down then?
So it's Derek there's a date of where the trial goes on, and then there's another date a few months later where they get sentenced. So in a few months he'll get his sentence.
I see. And that's up to the judge.
That's up to the judge. Yeah. So the jury's involvement is to just 12 impartial people who are not meant to know anyone, and just right, what do you think? The judge is asking. The judge is essentially, the nature of it is the judge is asking you what you think, and then based on your decision,
he then makes it.
I'll make the sentence basically, and that's the nature of it.
That's all right. Okay, that's what you're saying. I always thought it was. Part of me always thought that like the judge was the one who pretty much orchestrated it.
No, that's in. So when you look at Judge Judy, not Judy. When you look on that's magistrates, I think. So that's your offences of
that lower class.
You've smacked me in the face and then actually robbing. No, you smacked me in the face and robbed, so you'll be on Judge Judy. But this is more serious. So the more serious ones, you don't need a jury. The more serious ones, you need a jury. The other way around. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So the last question I wanted to ask about that. So you've been through all that. It's a fairly heavy case.
Yeah.
There might be even people that have had past experiences exactly like the case. That must affect you mentally. At the end of it, do they offer you any like therapy or, like
it's pretty heavy stuff. Isn't
it? Yeah. Like some people might actually need therapy and need to talk about it after it might really affect them. So, do they supply that to you? Is that something they
is it even an option?
do? Yeah, or is that it? You're just left to it.
Good question. Because what are all the things that mental health experts say? They say, keep yourself away from these situations, talk to people, get yourself outside.
Yeah.
Now, being in the jury situation, you are involved in this and you've got an impact. You can't speak to anyone and you can't go outside because the families are there and they can come over to you. So you can't go outside for your dinner. So it is a cocktail of everything that could just send you down mentally. But you've got to accept it. It's your duty. And they do. So there's a sheet of paper that says what you can do is you can go on a podcast and speak about it. No. It does. It's not saying it directly. It says once the trial's done, you can speak about it. And if you need support, there is this number. It's just like a fast track number or something. Right. But yeah, if you was to do, there might be someone on the trial that's that's
They might have been through that, bring it up past trauma,
it did with a couple of people, and it was quite evident. But it's a weird experience because you feel like I feel bonded to these people that I was in a room with, these random people, because we've been through that experience together. There's some people that, to be fair, I didn't know that I was done when I was done. We just got told to leave. It was like, oh, come in tomorrow. And then it was, no, we don't need you anymore. So I didn't get to say bye to the people. And it was like, I would have liked to have kept in contact with a few of them. So it's good because when you get in that room, you can let it out then, and it's like everyone does that, and I guess that's part of it as well, because if you're speaking about it all day at home, I feel like you wouldn't be that bothered about it. Not you wouldn't be that bothered about speaking about it like in person, but because of the nature of, you can't tell anyone about it. When you get in, it's on your mind all the time. When you get in, you're like,
What do
you think about that? I was thinking about this last night.
So you've been like right at home,
So I think that's part of it as well. But it is. They do offer support.
Right.
Yeah, they do offer support. Yeah, but pretty much.
With now that the whole thing is sort of like your part is finished on it, what do you feel like you took away from the whole experience? Like you said that you recommended other people to go through with it, and see it through. So what do you think that you've gained or learned from the whole show?
How to commit a crime and get away with it. I've got tips, by the way. I've got tips. Just how, first off, if something happens and there's no evidence, it's so hard to. So I know if someone hits my car now and I've got no evidence, I've got no witness, even if my story makes sense, I'm not going to do it because of the amount of work that goes into it, how hard it is to prove it with evidence. And also, I guess just looking at Derek, just kind of, it got me thinking about kind of like young men and just the amount of options there is out there for young men now, the amount of time you have, spare time on the weekends, at nights, and the amount of energy they have. And it's just, if you don't have good people around you, you can make some stupid decisions. And I think it's quite like, I mean, we're having a laugh and a joke about the whole thing, but you're seeing it in front of you, and you're seeing just this what I've just said, just manifesting in front of you in this person. It's just like, you could have missed so many opportunities where you could have made better decisions. And so I think it's taught me that every little decision that you make can lead to these big things. I might not be putting it in a right way, but it's grounded me way more as well, because you realise there's these systems that go on and have been going on, and the wheel's been turning for hundreds of years, and you're just hopping on it, and you'll hop back off, and it will carry on. And there's these because one of the things I noticed, you go into the court, and it's even things like how high up everyone is, and it just makes sense. Like the judge is the highest in the room. I'm on about who's highest, who's lowest.
As in levels.
Right?
Yeah.
So the judge is the highest, the juries are just underneath that, the attorneys are at the bottom, and everyone else is above it.
Right.
Even just that kind of system, it makes sense. It's like everything's up to the judge, then it's about convincing us. The attorneys are at the bottom, they have to convince everyone. And it's like, I'm actually going on a tangent here, but it's just like, even things like that, you walk in the room, everything seems proper, even the order of the height and everything. And
it shows the hierarchy.
Yeah, it shows the hierarchy. Yeah, thanks for putting it in a word. It shows the hierarchy, and this hierarchy is here, and it's real. and it's real, and you see it in front of you, and these things can happen to you, and that's why I'm bringing young men into it, and it's so probable if you turn down a bad path because of the options that are out there now. The world's a lot smaller. We've got phones. You can speak to someone across the world, and there's so many options. Time, young men having time, and having loads of energy as well, and you're just seeing how it can manifest in front of you, and how that can work against things that it's almost rebelling against things that have been here for hundreds of years, and you have to understand it, and that can be you. It can be you.
So do you feel like that's what happened with Derek then? That he was led down that path by a lack of role model, or the wrong role models that he saw. Like, he obviously didn't put his energies in the right things, which made him eventually lead to this, thinking that it was a good idea.
Well,
is that what you?
Yeah, it's so I've had them ideas, what I've just said to you, for a while, but it's like I've seen it now. I've seen it, and I've seen what it can do. And obviously, there's things that I will be assuming about Derek that I don't know about. But after the show, you can Google people, and you can Google people's families. And what I saw on there is this guy didn't have a chance.
Yeah,
he didn't have a chance, And that's what I mean, is you have to go by the law. If I think this guy doesn't have a chance, if I think this guy was malicious in everything that he did, doesn't matter. It's the law. Did this person break the law? Do you think this person broke the law? Guilty, not guilty. That's all that matters. And you have to go by them kinds of systems. But yeah, like you said, I mean, you can't assume people's situations and role models. But I would definitely say a lack of having a clear role model, a path, has impacted this guy's life severely.
Yeah.
And not just this guy's life, I'm not just speaking about this guy, what he's done.
Yeah.
These girls' lives, Amy and Erica's lives, their families' lives, It's just spilled over into this thing just because of a lack of role model, and just something that could have maybe been sorted out a few years earlier. Just putting a little check on it. And it's now spilled over into this big problem, really.
Yeah, it is mad when you think about it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Have you got any more questions about the case, or can I move on to this?
No, yeah, I think
So,
that's it.
I wanted to. We'll come off that now. Bit of a deep conversation.
Yeah, a little bit.
Well,
yeah, bloody hell, yeah.
Thank you for sharing it.
Yeah, no worries.
If we
That
got
must be a good cup of tea, by the way. It's in the name, you get the basics right, don't you?
we try and finish on with something bit different, a bit more upbeat, I guess. Obviously, we know you. We've known you for years. Good mates. We know a lot about you. You're big into the boxing scene.
Yeah.
Want to get your opinion on the? I'm guessing that you've heard about the Tyson Fury Usyk fight being called off.
Yeah.
What a segue. Yeah, I did like that.
Yeah, getting pro at this.
Hey, swagway.
Have you seen the sparring footage?
I've not seen the sparring footage, no.
Yeah, so the sparring
not
footage,
seen it.
it looks like shit. It looks like it's been filmed in like the 1970s or something.
Potato.
Yeah, so, but you can see him sparring like a smaller guy, so like Usyk's smaller, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
And he comes in to throw a hook and just misses his hook, clean elbows Fury in the eye. And straight away you hear him go, I'm cut. And like he touches his face, touches his eye twice, and like they cut the video. So that's why he's been elbowed straight to the eye. And it's give it a fair big cut, like.
Yeah, it was a big cut.
Yeah,
It was in the, I saw the picture of the cut. It was in the same spot as the Otto Walling.
Yeah.
It was in the same, it was in the exact same spots, which is real. I don't know how
it's Scottish.
You might know more about cuts than me, but can it open in the same place? Is that possible?
Yeah, that's why you see like Nate Diaz and Nick Diaz.
Yeah.
They always open up because they have so much scar tissue built up on the face. Yeah. So it easily opens up. But
yeah, no, it's
good,
isn't it? Yeah.
But
yeah.
It's hard to avoid though. He had headgear on.
Yeah.
And
you had headgear?
Yeah, he had headgear on as well.
Who did you fancy for that fight?
Oh, Fury.
I agree.
No, he's got the
thing is, with Fury, right, if he stands up straight, you'll know more than me about this, but if he stands up straight and leans back, can Usyk hit him in the head?
Yeah, it doesn't have to hit him in the head. If you lean back, your body's always there, so Usyk will just go to the body. Mate,
true. You've got a lot of padding on that body though,
yeah, that'll only go so far, mate. The pro boxer will be able to fucking still hurt that just because he's fat.
Yeah.
And I also feel like his last performance against
Ngannou.
Ngannou will put doubt.
Yeah.
And that's all. You just need to put doubt, and then you put an actual full-on professional boxer in front of him, and he's like, well, wonder how that's going to affect it. Like it could give more motivation because obviously you won't want to repeat the same performance. But
in my opinion, the only person that can beat Fury is himself.
Yeah.
And I think in Ngannou, in Fury's head, he had it lined up with this fight and this fight.
Yeah, he was already looking past.
I think he overlooked him, which is a natural thing. But yeah, the only person that can beat Fury is himself. I think he would have gone into the Usyk fight. Is it still going to happen? We don't know. But when he goes into the Usyk fight, I think he'll come into it much sharper mind. Really do. Yeah.
But then it makes me question his habits though in life. Do you know what I mean? Because it's not just the 8 weeks or however long he does his camps before that he's got to think about. It's the time in between. You know, has Usyk ever had them issues where he's, you know, being a fat cunt and fucking and being lazy and whatnot?
Yeah.
Is his life habits really good? Because I do think that's what makes a difference. And I'm not obviously saying that Fury is fucking shit because he obviously knows his stuff. But I'm just thinking in comparison to the person that he's trying to compete against.
I think that one person that changed boxing forever or even just brought a few things back into the mainstream, because boxing's just another one of them wheels that's been turning forever. It's Floyd Mayweather. And he's changed it because everyone now needs to be unbeaten. They need the records protecting, don't they? Yeah. You should know that. So they need the records protecting, and the way he trained, it was just on it. Have you ever seen that video? The doghouse video?
Yeah.
On YouTube? Oh, that's some video, that, innit? Have you never seen it?
No.
So, let me know if I'm not explaining it right. So, he was refereeing, right? People will come to Mayweather's gym in Las Vegas. Is it in Vegas? It's in Vegas, right? So people will come to his gym from all over the world, right? And he would do this thing called doghouse.
Oh, is it when they don't stop the round?
They don't stop the round. And there's that guy who comes from Manchester, and he fights. So Sean Rockman, and he has 2 sons, and he fights his younger son. This guy from Manchester fights his younger son for 20 minutes, doesn't he? And the guy gives up. So Sean Rockman's junior, his older son, comes and he's like, right, you beat up my brother, I'm going to come and thingy. But this guy from Manchester's just fought a half an hour round for straight. He's like, all right then, yeah, sure, yeah. And then they fight for like 3/4 of an hour. Yeah. Just going at a constant round. And Mayweather's there like dancing like that in the ring, like taking the mick out of him.
That is
I mean, he's not changed boxing, because you had boxing in the past, like Marvin Hagler, Marvin Hagler.
Yeah.
And he was just an absolute animal. But so it's just brought it to the forefront of, because he was just constantly training.
And not getting hit. He brought in
not getting hit as well.
Damage, prolonging his career.
Art of defense, yeah. So he's just, for me, like back to your point, it's just Mayweather's changed boxing completely, where people are now looking at, so the people coming in and now they're constantly training, the diet, everything like that. But when Fury came in, I don't think it was like that, and he's just been completely natural throughout his career, like as in pure technique, and he's great. He's great to watch. But like you said, the people coming into the sport now, they're all, well, I think the sport's going down.
Yeah, definitely.
It is. It's not like the 80s.
No.
I mean, not that I was alive in the 80s, but I've done a lot of. I've watched a lot of fights from the 80s.
I think with the way that I relate to that is in the sense of, like, in MMA, the best are forced to fight the best, and they're not even forced. Like they're encouraged to fight the best, yeah. And but because of that, it's a lot more forgiving. Like if you lose, you feel like fucking dog shit. But within 2 weeks or something, you realise that no one cares. You know what I mean? All of a sudden, you have another fight booked in, and everyone wants you to win again. You know what I mean? So it is a lot more forgiving, and you're not really as forgotten. But I feel like with boxing, like you said, like that means something. Yeah. And you don't get nowhere near as many opportunities as you do if you lose it.
Yeah. But I think it's quite a deep point, but I think it looks into kind of philosophies of building a sport up or building something. UFC is acts more like a there's one person at the top.
Well, yeah, like a UFC. It is
like a dictatorship. In a way. So decisions get made quickly. The best fight the best, and there's all these pros that come out of it. There's cons as well.
Whatever Dana says goes. Whereas with boxing, there's not that. There's so many different organisations.
You have complete order in the UFC, and you've got complete chaos in boxing. I think what was so good about I think MMA is actually taking over boxing now. I really do.
Especially for younger people.
Yeah, the odd fight in boxing, like if Crawford and Canelo happens, that would be a mega fight. There's your mega fights like Triple G, Canelo, and they're drawing so many people. It's a traditional sport, but the UFC are just they're getting things done quicker. They're just not just UFC, MMA. They're getting things done quicker.
Yeah, and they're becoming a lot more household known names as well.
And I think there's also a thing to that there was a thing in the past where obviously you'd have Mike Tyson and you'd say, he's the baddest man on the planet and all that. Really, when you're looking at the UFC and MMA, you're like, if there was no restrictions on that fight, that MMA guy would beat the boxing guy.
It goes to Fury had a bit of a go at Joe Rogan, because Joe Rogan said, if you lock John Jones and Tyson Fury in a room and throw away the key, 99% of the time John Jones is walking out of that room.
Yeah.
And Tyson Fury hit back and was like, shut up, you short, bold prick.
That just shows he is, I mean, the fact that he took it so personally.
And Joe Rogan loves boxing. He's been a massive boxing fan.
Tyson Fury being on Joe Rogan podcast is one of my favourite podcasts. And they had a good report, but the truth is the truth. So I think there's a feeling when you're watching someone in MMA, you're like, that guy is the baddest guy on the planet. Like there is that feeling. Like,
and Ngannou almost proved it. To be fair, I think he did prove it. Like,
did you watch on YouTube the Mike Tyson video where he's training Ngannou? Have you seen that?
I've not seen a full video. I've seen clips and that.
No, it's an hour-long thing. I recommend it. It's so good. It's like, just Mike Tyson's and he's like, no man, you just gotta do that. It doesn't sound good, but it's like, no.
What's that? Ben is brilliant at impressions.
I want to see that impression.
I can't do a Mike Tyson impression. I can do the odd one, but not.
What would you say your best impression is? Have you got
I'm gonna butcher it. Well, there's.
Your scouts one. You got to do your scouts.
Well, there's a story behind it. In geography class in school, our
geography teacher was called Mr. Hankim.
He was Scouse, and he said something. It was like, fucking hell, mate, you know what I mean? And I was just, he was going around class, I was like, fucking hell, like, and then he just stopped the class, he went, he was like, what did you say? And his Scouse accent, I was like, nothing. He just stopped the class and went, if you ever say that, you're getting referred. And I was like, and everyone was like, ooh. I was like, alright, here we go. And then I tried to discuss, I was like, fucking hell, and then my voice was like, fucking hell. And then that were it. Yeah, so I don't mind the Scouse accent. I used to have some Northern Irish friends, I was like, Ben, you can't be doing that, mate. They're from a place called Porterville, dude.
That is brilliant. How the fuck did we even get onto that?
I don't know. So we're talking about Mike Tyson, so honestly, that video is incredible. But yeah, when watching that fight, that Ngannou fight, it was just, it looked like, when someone gets hurt in a fight and the head starts going back, it looked like whenever Ngannou was throwing a punch, Fury was getting hurt, like he was moving back and Fury was like, he wasn't doing anything.
Yeah, it's the first time Fury's gone up against someone who he can't manhandle. And in fact, Ngannou could manhandle him.
Ngannou's a fucking
and that is the first time.
It said the height difference was 5 inches. It did not look like 5 inches. He said Ngannou's 6'4" and Fury's 6'9". It didn't look like that.
No, it didn't, did it?
No. What do you think about it? Is it booked in for AJ versus Ngannou? Have they agreed to it? Or is it just in talks?
Ngannou put a tweet out last night. Have you seen it? Yeah. It's that picture of, that guy who was like, when he met Mall Cop
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, where he's pulled bar. Yeah, where he's like that. You know that one? Yeah, he's like that. But Ngannou's made him like different hair and different skin colours. It's brilliant. Yeah, no, I think AJ gets underestimated, and I think he's coming into his prime, if you will. What people forget about AJ is he was so underdeveloped. Like when he was coming through, like he was world champion after like 16 fights. How many amateur fights did he have? Like 50. I think it was 50.
Yeah.
And within them 50 fights, he won a gold medal at the Olympics, Commonwealth Games. He was like so underprepared. So I think now he's got that mix of, he's still got his physique, and I've always been Fury. I've always thought if Fury fought AJ, Fury would win. But I think it's a bit different with Ngannou. I think if AJ wanted to turn it on, he could. If he wanted to win a round on points, he could.
Yeah.
But the story of Ngannou is so powerful. I could easily see it coming about.
Yeah.
Him becoming a champion. Judge how good of a story that would be.
Oh, mental.
If he became just
told Dan to go fuck himself, like, right, I'm gonna go fucking boxing, mate.
Yeah.
But goes in and fucking beat.
But even if you go further back than that, his whole story of how he came over, and then he was sleeping outside a gym, weren't he? And then the guy said to him, like, if you're training here, you can live for free or something like that. And he just blew up from there, didn't he? So even the whole story from
an old age, like it started.
in
the sense of like the sport.
Yeah. When you was like coming up with MMA, or even before it, what was the point where you decided to? Sorry, I'm asking you a question. What was the point where you decided you wanted to do it? Was there like a fighter who inspired you? Was it like?
So when I first stepped into an MMA gym, it was when I was 15. I'd like to say I actually inspired him. He was the one reason why I then went to Northwest Fight Academy.
Yeah.
But before that, I went for like a month at this other place, and I just wanted to try it, and that was because of Conor. Because that's when he was going about. I was like, fucking hell, who's this guy? He looks sick. But then I was doing my mocks in high school, and I just fucked it off. I wasn't really committed. I only like went 4 times, but that was like the first time I got introduced to it. And then later on, I then got introduced to it properly through Tom. And then Tom brought me to Northwest, because that was after he was done boxing.
Yeah.
And I committed, and at that time I needed that structure and that routine. I craved it. I didn't know I craved it, but that's what I was craving. And within 8 months, I had my first fight. I took the first fight on 2 weeks' notice, and fought in Manchester. And then a month later, in November, because I fought in October, and then a month later, I fought again on my second fight. And that was in college at this point, because I was 17. And after that second one, I realised, because at first, when I first won the first one, I thought that could have just been a fluke. So I didn't tell anyone that I was fighting. And I didn't like calling myself a fighter. I thought that was cheap. I don't know. I felt like I was just giving myself a title that I hadn't earned.
Like you hadn't earned it.
Yeah. So the second one, for me, was a big deal, because I wanted to prove to myself that it wasn't a fluke. That the reason why I won. And then I went out, and I remember it was in Manchester again, and it was a guy against a lad called Nathan, fucking jacked, right? And I remember doing the weigh-in, seeing him at the weigh-ins. I thought, oh, mate, I fucking hate to fight that guy, because he was like 6 foot, fucking unit, lean as fuck. And then we got called to do a fucking face-off, and went, are you fucking kidding me? I was like, fuck me. So I was looking up at it like that, and anyway, I fought him, and I beat him in the second round, and then after that, I said to Mum, Mum, I can fucking do this, you know. I think I could do this. And I said that to her, and I said, I'm going to quit college, and I'm just going to fucking send it. And she told me to fuck off. She said, all right, because at this point, she could see the benefit of the structure. Compared to the character that I was before fighting and training, it was 2 different people. And she could see that. She didn't like the idea of me fighting. She fucking hates it to this day. Like, she didn't want me to do it. But she sees the benefit and the direction it's given my life. So she said to me, I tell you what, I will support you as much as I can until you're 25, but the deal is you've got to finish your A levels. So that was the deal. So I didn't fight after that second fight. I didn't fight until after I finished college.
Yeah.
By that point, I was 18, and then I did one more year, and then I finished it, and then I committed back to the fight, and that's when I've fully sent it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I remember seeing it. I remember seeing a change in you when you was coming out, like
Yeah.
with the drinking as well,
Oh,
and just
mate,
like you just fully chuck yourself in, didn't you, straight away like that.
Because I was in college, and then when we started, we were doing 2 days a week, and then within 2 weeks, I found that wasn't enough. So then I went to 4 days a week, and then before you know it, I got asked to do the sparring on the weekends, and at that time it was Sunday. So I was then training 6 times a week within a month, and then that was the entire case throughout the entirety of me in the college, and that was it for about a year and a half. And then after I finished college, it then went to the point that I got a job at a warehouse. Fucking hated it, and I couldn't fucking stand it, and it made me realize just how little I like working 9 to 5.
Yeah.
And then I thought, fuck this, so I quit the job, and then I just basically did not spend any money. I was anal about it. Like I couldn't spend money on a coffee if I knew I could just make it at home for like a fraction of the price.
Yeah.
It just didn't make any sense to me. I didn't buy clothes. I fucking didn't buy drink. I can't remember. At that time, I might have sniffed a bit, but then at that point, I was already coming out of that routine because I could see myself that I wasn't actually dealing with problems. I was just prolonging them.
Yeah.
Because by the time I would get sober again, the problems came back, and I'd be in fucking tears in my bed on my own. I'm thinking, what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah.
So there was a switch that I then made, which was actually a fucking New Year's Day, New Year's Eve, and we went to a party. Jack's uncles, I think it was, the Jepson's uncles. We went.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and that was the night. That was the night because I wasn't gonna drink, and then I caved under peer pressure, and I bought a crate of Budweiser, and we went to that I won't say what they were doing, but we went to that, and I was so annoyed at myself for drinking because by the time before 12 o'clock, I was starting getting sober, and I was fuming at myself, and in that moment, I said to myself, I'm not drinking. I'm not doing anything next year, and then. So I set myself that challenge, and then because I don't know, the moment I made that switch in my head to just commit to that, I never drank again. I've never drunk since.
Sometimes you need them bad emotions to motivate.
Yeah.
You. And it seems to me like you said you wanted a structure in like everything, but you didn't want a normal structure.
No.
You wanted to figure it out for yourself. Like you were setting yourself. You're working within limits, right? I'm not going to spend this on a coffee. I'm not going to do that, and that was your structure. But you didn't want like a 9 to 5 structure like anyone else. So it just worked for you. Did fighting and doing MMA like give you? It's one thing I realised over the last year is doing stuff that gives you energy.
Yeah.
Like naturally, even being with people that gives you energy. It's so big. Did it like give you energy when you was there and you wanted to?
I think
like, enthusiasm.
I think it made me realise I was capable. Because when I went there, it was all grown men. Do you know what I mean? And I was 17, and I played rugby for a while before this, like 6 years. So I was like just fucking a bull in a china shop, as I used to get referred to.
Yeah.
And I didn't really think much with my head. I just fuck me, man. I was just fucking all in, like. But what I found that it taught me was that I could learn, and it taught me that it literally gave me a framework of the more effort you put in, the more you get out. And then for some reason, you get told that, but you never understand it. But then the moment you win the fight, and you think, fucking hell, the stuff that I'm learning actually is working. I just got to commit to it. And then once you commit to it, you realize that the results show that commitment.
Yeah.
And I never, even like in school and that, you get an idea of it, but I never connected them dots for some reason. And then that was the reason why I got my A levels, because I was fucking around in college not really. I was being lazy. I was not taking it seriously.
I was saying.
And then the last 2 months, I was 2 months out of my exams, and I was like, fucking hell. I was like, if I don't do something, I am going to fail. Like, I cannot wing this. Like, A-level maths, it's not something you can wing. And I was kidding myself beforehand thinking that I could, because you could do it technically in high school.
In GCSE, it's all pretty surface level.
Yeah,
really.
but then fucking maths, it was a fucking in college, it was a different grade.
I know, man.
And 2 months out, I thought, fuck it, and I was so fortunate because I ripped my muscle in my ab from training, and I basically I could not get up out of bed. Like, I had to actually roll out of bed. Like, I couldn't actually sit up. But because of it, I couldn't train. So I basically was in a position where I knew I needed to put the effort into the college, and I realised that the fact that effort equals a better result.
Yeah.
And I was forced to do it because I couldn't train, so I had to fill my time anyway.
Yeah.
So I just admit I've revised. Like, I would go into college like 2 hours before it. I would stay the entire day, and then I would stay another 2 hours after, and then I'd get home, eat, and then again I'd revise again at night. Just go over little details, and then by the time I was failing everything, and then by the time I got to the end, I got 2 B's and a C, which I was fuming at because I was so hoping for an A in maths, because I put the most effort in that, because that was the topic that I was struggling with most.
Yeah.
That I was actually fucking so unhappy with the result. And then Matt was next to me singing, "Chris, you fucking shut up." Like, you know what I mean? But yeah. It was brilliant.
But yeah, like, it's funny you say like that you need to mess up, and people have the tell you things like they have these structures like you need to put effort in, you need to do this, watch out for this.
Yeah.
I've always been, and I don't know about you too, I've always been, I need to do something and I need to fuck up. And then I know I can't do that.
Yeah.
Like, I've always been like that. And it's taking back to the point again of young men and opportunities. And if people have the right role models, the F-ups aren't going to be like catastrophes like that. So if you're effing up on your own, in your own life, but it's like a non-serious thing, and you can learn them lessons on fairly simple things, then that's great, and it sets you in a thing because you've had role models, and you're not going to step too far out. But that's what I mean. I think it's important because, like I said, the opportunities, the time, and the energy that young men have. Them F-ups can be huge, and especially for people who need to F-up to learn.
Yeah, definitely.
I do, like you said, actually, a good point with the role models is I was fortunate enough to find a role model in my coach. And the biggest thing that I actually respected about him was that he would never ask other people to do something that he wouldn't do himself.
Yeah.
So he does loads of circuits, and I don't do them anymore, but he does loads of circuits, and he used to fight as well. So he'll never put you in a position that he wouldn't have done himself, and he would train alongside you as well. And I always respected that, because I always thought like he's leading by example, and to me that was the biggest thing, because I felt like when my motivation to train changed, it wasn't no longer about how to deal with the pain of my life at the time. It then developed into like I wanted to lead by example, which I felt in that moment, rightly or wrongly so, I felt like I hadn't had. The issue was with my father at the time, but I felt like I hadn't had that. He would tell me what to do, but then he himself would do something differently. So I felt like, well, how can you lecture me on my life when look at yourself? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's what I wanted. I wanted to lead by example, so that people who were around me, who I cared for, at that time when I was that young, my main concern was Matt. I wanted to lead by example through that, so that's why I just committed to it. But again, it was lucky that I only saw that through Steve, my head coach, and then obviously as well my mum. She was fucking brilliant. She handled it really well, and she trusted me to lead basically, and to allow me to discover it myself.
Yeah. Well, without being too cringy, mate, I think you are doing that.
I hope so.
Brilliant, man.
I hope so. Definitely.
Right. Well, thanks for coming on, Ben.
Cheers.
Thank you very much.
It's been a pleasure.
Really good,
Been a pleasure,
really good episode.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. I'm sure we'll have you on again. To be fair,
Yeah,
Definitely, yeah, I'm up for that. I got more stories anyway. I got more stories.
Holidays. And,
Yeah.
Terrible maths.
Yeah. I'm on board with that.
Thanks everyone for listening.
Thank you
It's
very
been
much.
Brew Time Podcast. We'll catch you again next week.
See you later.